Did you know that Airbnb started as a simple WordPress blog? The company we know today, currently valued at over $80 billion, started out with a very basic website. Here's how it looked like in 2008. Of course, a lot of features were missing. Users couldn't choose multiple dates or select a specific geographical area, and also there were none of the filters and functionality of the current Airbnb website. Here's how it looks today, a complex product with a lot of features and a design tailored exactly for their target market. In this video, we're going to discuss MVPs, how minimal they should be, and a couple of tips specific for WordPress that hopefully will help you building a website to quickly test your business idea. In case you don't know, an MVP or minimum viable product is the simplest version of your business idea that is still good enough to satisfy your early customers. I'm Matt and I'm a web developer and designer, and I've built all sorts of websites and MVPs for clients and also a couple for myself. How minimal an MVP should be? Well, let's say that you should be able to create and test your MVP as fast as possible. You should include in this MVP a very limited set of features, possibly only one single core feature. And in any case, just enough to make the very first users happy and start gathering feedback. So you can create something simple that can require one day or can require 1 month or more. And it doesn't need to be perfect. But this isn't an excuse to produce something unusual, so keep that in mind. Sometimes, even when you try to keep your product as simple as possible, and you truly try to build an MVP even with one single feature, it can still be too complex to produce. So in this case, you can consider leveraging some sort of waiting list. That's how Dropbox, for example, got launched on the market. They didn't build Dropbox right away. They first published a simple video and redirected interested users to a waiting list. Only after they were sure the market had interest, they started to actually create and develop the product that we know today. Now that we've clarified some of the basics of MVPs, we can actually talk about how to build your own quickly with WordPress. Of course, a single video isn't enough about this topic, right? Because things can get quite complex, and also it depends on your unique features. But here we are going to discuss the essentials. So try to get these things right and you will save a lot of time. First of all, don't use external page builders. Try to use the default WordPress block editor without extra plugins as much as you can. You should avoid Divi, Elementor, Beaver Builder, WP Bakery, and any kind of page builder developed by a third party. Why? Well, your website will be faster right away, and this will give you a competitive advantage because your competitors that will use Elementor or similar will have slower websites that often are not properly optimized. Something that not many people know is that optimizing WordPress websites can be quite expensive. So often the people that choose Elementor don't know this, and then they don't have the budget to optimize their own website. So this is a huge competitive advantage for you because it will be easier to create a fast website, and also you will have a better chance to pass Web Core Vitals. And that alone will give you a small ranking bonus on Google. So to recap, your users will be happier since your website will be faster right away. Less of them, of course, will abandon your website due to performance issues because you will have less performance issues, and maybe you even get a little bit more traffic. Another thing we need to mention here is that you should be really careful whenever you're adding a plugin or even a code snippet or even content to your MVP website. Always ask yourself how this thing is helping you in moving towards your business goal. Because of course your MVP is there to gather feedback from users, but you should also have in mind some sort of business goal to understand if this MVP is successful or not. A good business goal will be something measurable and could be something like generating a certain amount of revenue or maybe converting a number of users. Next, we need to talk about the theme choice for your website. And of course, this decision is really important in WordPress websites because it makes a huge difference, even when you build something simple as an MVP. So if you aren't sure about the theme you're going to use, just use GeneratePress. This is the theme of choice that most senior WordPress developers use for their projects, even when they're quite complex. Another good choice could be also Astra, even though I still recommend GeneratePress more. Both of these themes also come with a pre-built websites library that you can use to get started faster. My final note on this part is that avoiding third-party page builders and choosing a good theme are the first two steps to get started right with your MVP. Choosing wrong at this stage will be a mistake that will slow you down later. A lot of my past clients usually started with a page builder like Elementor or similar and the wrong theme. This quickly becomes a problem when your product has some success and stops being an MVP, because at that point you will need to fix and expand your website, guided by the feedback of your users, and if you have the wrong setup, like a bad theme and Elementor installed, you will soon be forced to rebuild your website from scratch. This is why these two first steps are so important, because you could avoid rebuilding your entire website and you can iterate and improve your product faster. And of course, you will also save a huge amount of time that will be spent dealing with bugs and issues that will come with a bad page builder and a bad WordPress theme. And this is probably the most valuable part, the time you save that you can actually dedicate to work on your business. In this video, we talked about how minimal your MVP should be, but there's also a list of things that you should always include in your MVP. And here I'm going to mention them quickly, but let me know if you have any questions and we can probably create more dedicated videos. First, you should have a clear value proposition that easily explains the value of your product. And you do this with a pain statement that resonates with your audience, and you offer a solution for that pain. You should also include a feedback box. This is a small button to a form placed in the bottom right area of the website. It should be fixed and it should be always visible. So users can click on this button, a form comes up, and they can fill it in and send you new ideas or maybe bug reports that you should solve, of course, as soon as possible. Remember that you're building an MVP to gather feedback, so this is essential. And a mistake that many companies do is instead of adding a useful feedback box, they add a useless chatbot that usually interrupts the navigation of the users and try to convince them to sign up for something, either a newsletter or the service itself. Well, don't do that, and remember that you need to gather feedback. So add a proper feedback box and avoid adding chatbots. Speaking of feedback, you should also integrate some sort of analytics. And of course, you do this usually with Google Analytics and Hotjar or similar services to track users' behavior. You do that because you need to know how they use your product and how you can improve it for them. If the product isn't super intuitive, consider recording a video that explains easily how to use the product for onboarding purposes. Usually some startups here create a tailored onboarding process, which is like a little tutorial that users follow when they sign up to learn how to use the product in the best way possible. But a custom onboarding process is often expensive since it requires a lot of development. So you can record a simple video, or if your product is really simple, you don't even need to record a video probably. And I think that's all for this video. Let me know what you think and I'll see you on the next one.